And you touched on something super important. You said why versus the what. So the next component to this, everyone, if you're dealing with you're helping your clients and you want to get them off the fence and into a home, or your seller's not sure whether or not they should actually sell their home and relocate, there is something that's really important.
Here's a change of scenery. Toni, where are you at right now?
I'm on Vancouver Island and I'm coming in virtual today. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jenny. Hi, team.
Thanks for taking some family time out and to be here on the podcast.
Oh, you guys are a priority. And also my family is too, but they're on the beach right now while we're doing our podcast. So everybody's having fun.
Yes. So see how hardworking Toni is, even when she's not in the Lower Mainland. So let's get right to it. I'm Jenny Woon with In-House Podcast. Thank you for listening in, as always.
And I'm Toni Singh with In the House Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
So today's topic, we are going to get right into it, is getting buyers off the fence and into a home. The reason why we're actually touching on this topic is because there's this uncertainty and lull in I would say probably the last 6 months. I've been feeling it since March. I'm getting a lot of feedback from all the agents that are at my brokerage saying that their buyers are on the fence. They're trying everything they can to get them out to take a look at properties, but there's this quick objection that they're getting and this fear from the buyers that they're just on the fence and they don't want to make any decisions yet. How are you feeling about this?
Well, I really enjoy discussions like this because it's so relevant to what's happening in general in the marketplace. In Metro Vancouver, and I guess more even globally from a macroeconomic perspective, people as buyers or sellers, they have doubts, right, about whether or not they should make a move. I mean, it kind of makes sense. In Metro Vancouver and surrounding areas in BC, there have been multiple mortgage rate hikes. And sure, if you put yourself in the customer's shoes, it's kind of like, well, maybe I'll just wait. So as a realtor, when you're dealing with clients, it's kind of both sellers and buyers, right? How are you able to be of service and actually help them make that move instead of just waiting it out? So the topic today is exactly that. Jenny, do you have any tips for our listeners on how they can be guiding their clients properly and get them off the fence and into either a home or something like that?
I do. Well, first off, you really have to do some homework and investigating with your client. The reason of that they're not ready to buy or they're kind of tired of looking. I think really there hasn't been enough dialogue between you and the buyer as to their motivation. And so finding out what the two reasons why a buyer will decide to buy or to purchase or sell, first of all, is really trying to understand their motivation. And in this industry, there's really two types of urgency we can uncover. First of all is the circumstantial urgency. The circumstantial urgency being what situation are they currently in that's motivating them to buy or sell. Typically, someone wants to better their lives. And so in that sense, if they're trying to relocate for work or they're going through a divorce, those are circumstantial urgency examples.
Yeah, that's a great point. And another point to that is another reason, I guess, why a buyer or seller would make a decision to move is their own personal motivations of urgency. Personal motivation has the most motivation because it does directly relate to an individual's fundamental pillars of urgency. What do we mean by that? I mean, we're kind of talking about that decision-making process that a buyer may go through, which will allow them to finally make that purchase. So it's actually, there's three parts to this. And it's broken down this way. Number one is the current dissatisfaction that that client may be experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we'll just give any example. If you're a buyer and you're looking to purchase something, they're ultimately, if you're motivated personally, would have to be a reason why. Do you want to purchase closer to family that's moved away? Maybe the current dissatisfaction is that your family has relocated to a different area of the city and you're not able to see them as much. Perhaps mobility could be an issue as well. A second component to the fundamental pillars of urgency is the future promise. So, future promise meaning what would that buyer gain by making a move today? Well, if the pain of the problem and the current dissatisfaction is not being close to family, the future promise is spending time with your family and being able to create daily memories with them easily and effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Jenny, there's a third part to this which is related. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, the third component is the cost and the fear. The combination of the two things is that how much is it costing them to be living in dissatisfaction? And so ultimately, as they continue to increase maybe lack of freedom, lack of maybe money, it could be at a cost of their health, of their mental state. It ultimately is connected to the fear and the anxiety that will be building onto them to really create that urgency to really exist and to amplify in their life. And so by marrying this dissatisfaction, solving it with a future promise that if they move, then it'll actually be a better environment for them, then really you've really touched on what they're, you're kind of honing down on why they're being so urgent in wanting to move.
That's right. And you touched on something super important. You said why versus the what. So the next component to this, everyone, if you're dealing with you're helping your clients and you want to get them off the fence and into a home, or your seller's not sure whether or not they should actually sell their home and relocate, there is something that's really important. And it actually relates to the old school sales approach. Some of the questions that some of us have been taught to ask with old school sales training. There is a slight problem with that old school sales approach. And so it's about shifting language and asking better questions. An example of this would be just, changing your current sales questioning from a habit to a strategy. Well, if we know that the person's why they're selling or why they're purchasing is the most important factor in terms of getting them to take action, open-ended questions are a great way of delving deeper into those conversations, finding out the why, and having greater dialogue, as Jenny mentioned, about what's going to benefit the client the most with making a certain move.
So one of the questions, for example, that would be debunking this typical traditional question is, what brought you out today? So how do we shift that question into the why? Is why did you come out and have a look? Why is it you're looking around for properties at the moment? The other question is, what square footage are you looking for? How you can convert that to a very positive question and deeper discovery is, why are you looking for more square footage? Are they accumulating more items? Are they adding to a new family member to the dynamics? What is your time frame? Again, change the what to a why.
Exactly. So for example, why are you wanting to purchase in this specific region of Metro Vancouver? And then you could delve deeper into what's not working for them where they're currently habitating. Another way to do this, the shift from the old school sales questions about what and how, and delving into that why, is to focus either the questions, number one, simply around, I want to just summarize it and say their pain, not to give them anxiety, but to actually see why their current circumstances are not working for them. And then the second part of that would just be asking questions around their pleasure. So pain, pleasure, and then are we formulating a specific strategy in order to move you forward?
And the biggest thing that I'm hearing, Toni, is that the what is more fact driven. It's a little bit transactional, but the why is really mission based. It's really mission centered around the deeper discovery, the really revealing their pain through this experience that they're having, and being able to discover at a deeper level of why they want to move, then that experience to them is that you're building that trust. So, I wouldn't, I would probably say that this method works regardless in what sales capacity you're at, whether it be real estate, selling insurance, anything like that, where you're trying to sell a product or a service.
And we've talked a lot on this podcast about creating deeper relationships with our clients, right? I think that you could also say that these deeper questions relate directly to the customer service because, like you said, Jenny, it's not transactional. I mean, if you're working with somebody, do you genuinely want to know that they're looking out for your best interest? Yes, you genuinely want to understand that the person helping you achieve something has listened to what you've said. They understand why it's important to you, and they're the best person to help you move forward. So I think changing those questions and having a better dialogue about it certainly would portray that to your clients as well.
So, Toni, there's 4 discovery categories in which you need to walk the buyer through discreetly without really telling them that you're actually going to ask these questions, of course. But these discovery questions really are certainly unscripted, but it does give a deeper discovery into why the buyer is looking to move. So first one is the relationship question. Second one is the motivation question. Third one is the dissatisfaction question. And then fourth are the promise questions. So let's take the first one, relationship questions. How would we formulate or position relationship questions to them so that we are get to know them a little bit better?
Okay, so for example, I guess it's just treating them like a human being, right? And genuinely asking them why they're looking to make a change. So for example, if it was a referral from a past client, I mean, you ultimately would already have the introduction most likely, right? And it's just a regular conversation about, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about what's going on in your guys' world right now. And then you would expand on it, right? Because that's super general. It's super general. I mean, you could go directly into, like, you want to create the rapport by having that exchange and genuinely showing an interest and listening to their responses. And then from there, it would kind of guide the conversation into those other 3 questions that you had said.
The relationship questions also keep in mind of the book Never Split the Difference with Chris Voss, where he talks about the black swan, where he talks about the mirroring, where he talks about the body language. And so the relationship questions are all about trying to be at their level of empathy and really understanding them on a human level.
Exactly. And it's pretty easy to do if you're focused solely on them, right? And there's a genuine interest.
Second one I mentioned on the discovery is the motivation questions. And we talked about this a little bit earlier in terms of really just asking them, why do they think they're moving? That way, there's a little bit more direction on how they can help a little bit better, so they have a better understanding. And that question obviously is very open-ended. It's very obvious, but it's also quite direct, which I appreciate myself.
Oh, for sure. But I think with asking that open questions, like, oh, why are you interested in making this move? It allows you to get into questions 3 and 4, right? Which is the dissatisfaction question about what's not working right now. And then the fourth one, which was the pleasure question. What are you going to gain from making this change in your life. So there
Right.
are distinct steps there. It's very interesting when it's broken down that way.
And the must and the promise questions basically are, why is it so important to have these items checked off on your list, and really connecting that answer with the dissatisfaction questions and answers
Hmm.
of what is not working. Do they need a bigger kitchen? Why do they need a bigger kitchen? Maybe they love to invite other family members in, and it's part of their culture. So, yeah, I think those are really good ways to uncover their motivation. And from there, the last step of this, trying to get them to reconfirm why they're moving, is the agreements. The first one being summarizing the dissatisfaction questions and responses, and then summarizing the solution answers. And what we mean by that is that you're really trying to get them to tell you more, really ask them, establishing this mutual understanding and purpose that you've actually discovered some problems that they have. Maybe they're not even aware of, and you've actually discovered it together. And then you're actually summarizing by getting them to agree that we can solve this problem. We can solve and get you into this satisfactory environment. But what you want to focus on when you're summarizing that dissatisfaction is that what's wrong right now, reinstating that things will continue to go bad and continue to be a very bad experience if they remain in their current situation. And so
Hmm.
the second part of that is you're going to be very solutions driven, and you're going to focus on confirming that what's going to happen if they make decisions for the future, that their life will actually change for the better.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary, Jenny.
So I think at the end of the day, really, is your purpose is to change someone's world. And there's nothing evil about it. There's nothing, you genuinely just want to help solve people's problems.
Yeah, I think that when you're coming with that perspective, then you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say about trying to get somebody off the fence, and off the fence, and getting them to all along throughout the conversation is just giving them some promises for the future, that it will be better, that it will not cost them any further in their life, whether that be financially
For
or
sure.
whether it be mentally, right? And the strategy is the deeper discovery of revealing what their true pains are, and not be so product focused, and
For
and
sure.
yeah, just talking to them a little bit more, than rather than just shutting down as soon as they say I'm not ready to make any decisions.
Well, that's a great summary. We hope you guys found this episode helpful. And remember that when you're going out there with your client's best interests at heart and genuinely trying to help them solve a problem, you'll reap the rewards. So we hope that you found this episode helpful. We hope that it helps you help your clients.
And give us a rating of 5 stars. We love, love, love to hear from you. Give us some reviews, because without the reviews, you know, honestly, we want to just be higher in the ranking so that you can search for us, so that we can give you better quality topics. We appreciate your time, and see you next week.